everyone, welcome to Commander Pop Culture. If you like the video, be sure to subscribe so you'll be notified of future content. Welcome to episode 4 of Spoiler Season. I'll include links below for my previous evaluations. If you're new here, I hope this series stimulates your thoughts as to
what are you buying?
Starting off with S tier. Cloudstone Curio getting a full art treatment as Elisar the Elfstone. One of my personal favorites. This has been creeping into more and more of my decks lately. I think people overlook the fact that you could bounce any non-artifact permanent. Bounce your lands for landfall triggers, your enchantments for enchantress decks, creatures for combos. I think because folks failed to think about Cloudstone's fine print, they are missing out on one of the greatest artifacts of all time. This card is undervalued at $14, OG iterations go for $34. Pre-order it now. Number 77, Yavimaya Cradle of Growth getting a full art treatment as Fanghorn Forest. This should be run in any commander deck with green to help you with your mana fixing. You can get the OG version for $8. The pre-order price for this version is at $10. Pick it up now before you miss out. Number 78, Ancient Tomb getting a full art treatment as Balin's Tomb. This is a staple because you get to ramp your mana base for 2 damage and only at the cost of a single land drop. There is a reason why this card is played in every competitive player's deck, because it gives you an early edge in the game. You can get a moderately played OG version for $60, or you could buy this full art version, brand spanking new, for $61. This is one of the best lands in the game. If you have money to spare on boxes, then I'd say buy a copy of this now. The price of this card will settle back in the high 80s in the near future. Number 79, Minimo, School of Water's Edge, also getting full art treatment as Dol Amroth. It's a utility land that also comes in untapped, which is a super rare quality amongst utility lands. This is a staple in Tim decks. In case you don't know what Tim means, it's slang for creatures that have a tapping activated ability. This land ensures that you get to do that ability more than once per revolution of the table. It also doesn't have to target just creatures. The stipulation is a permanent that is legendary, and there are a lot of broken legendary permanents with activated abilities. Near mint mystery foil Pringles are going for $20. Get this new version for $20. The price of this has fallen close to 50% since this was spoiled, hence there's a clear price point volatility. Personally, $20 is probably a good midpoint. I could see this rising to its former price value with time. As a consumer, I suggest buying it as it stands. You can wait for it to bottom out, most likely get a little lower. I don't think pinching a few bucks is worth the risk of missing out on a current fair price though. Moving on to A tier, Mirkwood Bats.
Lifeless beady eyes, clawed feet, huge grotesque wings, human fangs.
This is a new fresh way to bolster aristocrat strategies. The card is unique in that there are 2 ways to drain your opponents on a single card. Normally I only go for 2 CMC cards like Zulaport Cutthroat, but since this card adds an additional way to drain, the mana investment is on par for the course, and that I'll run this card as well. We're 81, Homeward Path getting a full art treatment as the Green Dragon Inn. A colorless utility land that I personally use to metagame against some of my friends. It's something that every person should own just in case your friends start developing sticky fingers.
We're the Sticky Bandits.
This card is also having a similar story as the previously mentioned Minimo, in that the price is volatile. Before the spoiler, the OG was sitting at $20 and has fallen to $14 for its current pre-order price of $9. I'm getting a copy. Number 82. Minas Tirith is one of the best Lord of the Rings lands, second only to Mount Doom. The stipulation of drawing a card is pretty easy to do. Due to this, I can overlook the tapped ETB clause because the juice is worth the squeeze. Depending on which version you want, pre-ordering is $11 to $15. This is a rare that will get a lot of copies printed, thus I'll wait until the release of Commander Masters for this to really bottom out close to this tier's bracket price. Number 83, Rivendell. Third best low tier land. Instead of card advantage, you get card selection. Pre-order price is $10 for any version. Just wait like Minas Tirith. Similar lands like Search for Azcanta and Castle Vantress sit closer to $1. I expect this land to be worth more due to it to being strictly better, but I wouldn't pay more than $5 for this card. Number 84, Storm of Saruman. I like that this card copies a spell as long as it's your second and can circumvent the legendary rule. In that same vein, I dislike that it only copies your second spell. For a price 10 to 16, this card is simply not worth that price. Due to how fast the commander format is getting, you will not get as much value off of it as you think. Number 85, Ilwyn. I like that she is removal on a stick that exiles an opponent's significant creature on enter the battlefield. And more importantly, the exiled creature does not come back. Then you get to make your legendary creatures evasive for attacks. Overall, she's a solid flicker target. Full art pre-order price $7, just wait for it to fall under 5. Finally, we get to the garbage tier. Cards 86 through 95 are just draft fillers. They're not trying to be something they are not. Feel free to pause the vid so you could evaluate for yourselves, because to some, they are playable. The reason why I don't really care to talk about them is your deck slots are valuable. There will always be a better alternative to these cards. Now for my favorite subject matter of this tier, the dishonorable mentions.
I hate you!
Number 96, Saruman of Many Colors. This should be called Saruman of Many Words due to its abysmal text box. I get it. Saruman is a 2-timing double crosser.
Yeah, that's me, see?
Hence the second spell trigger, but it's stupidly convoluted. I imagine a lot of players are going to get into arguments over how this card functions during a game, so I'm going to break it down as simply as I can. As you cast your second spell, it's important to note its CMC. Opponents mill 2 cards, then from those milled cards, you get to possibly copy an enchantment, sorcery, or instant that is equal or less than that second spell. What people haven't thought of is casting multiple spells can be mana taxing, and the order that you cast your spells can also matter. If all you want to do is steal people's stuff, why not just play Send Triplets, Memnarch, or Xanathar? Any of these would pose a real and consistent threat. If someone played Saruman, I couldn't care less about it. I, as your opponent, would love your shitty odds of stealing a random card once a turn. The pre-order price of $18 to $26 makes me wonder if store owners are cognitively inebriated.
License and registration, please.
What seems to be the officer problem?
You could buy these better cards for $5 or less. Number 97, Sauron, Lord of the Rings. I have expectations for something of this cost to be a game-ending spell. This card does not meet those expectations. All it does is put a bunch of power onto the board, something that Commander players find borderline meaningless due to the state of the game. What stinks about this card is the reanimation and a mass trigger occurs on cast, meaning it's a lot harder to abuse. If it was on ETB, I would have had a lot more respect for this card. I guess this is par for the course of the Commander deck cards just being garbage. You can do better with 8 mana spells. Don't waste your money on its current $14 price tag. You can play things like City on Fire, Insurrection, Razaketh, Phyllis Broker of Blood, and more, all of which end the game for the same CMC and at a significantly cheaper price tag. Number 98, Barad-dûr. If you're spending double X and a black to amass an army that is less than half your mana investment, you must be in rough shape. Even making a 1/1 chump blocker by utilizing 4 lands is not a good rate. In either case, this card does not warrant its $8 price tag, especially being one of the worst of the O-tier lands. Number 99, the Balrog Flame of Udin. I pray that this is not the only version of the Balrog we see. This card does not do the creature justice. It takes up a rare slot because its stat block and its relatively low CMC is all the good parts that this card has going for it. The pre-order price is $1. Wish WotC saved a tree and didn't print this card at all. Number 100, Witch King, Bringer of Ruin. I really dislike that this attack trigger makes your opponent sack their weakest creature. The only thing good I have to say about that attack trigger is that it pairs well with the arrogance captured in the flavor text at the bottom. The irony of challenging only foes weaker than yourself is hilarious. The pre-order price is $5. The price tag isn't worth the laugh though. To show that I'm not just talking, that I practice what I preach, I'm only pre-ordering mythics that I think are underpriced for what they are worth. For those of you on the fence and have the money to spare, these are what you should be buying.
By Grabthar's hammer. What a savings.
Have a good night.